And now we're live.
What's happening? What's happening, everyone? What's up, Jamaica?
Hey, Sean. Hey, Jose. Special
Peace to
guest.
make up, peace song.
What's happening, man? Summer edition, Focus Friday. We're back again, enjoying this wonderful, balmy, rainy weather here, here in the capital region, Schenectady, New York. Albany, New York is in the house. We have a special guest today, one of my true brothers, Jose Pineda, after incarceration, a true colleague, true freedom fighter, one of the best that I know to do it. Definitely a dope thought partner, man, and everything that I do in my work. So appreciate having Jose here. Jamaica, what's good? Tell us what's happening.
I was just making sure because we doing this special online edition, making sure all the technology is working. We are good. Everybody is live. Sound is dope. Really excited to have this special edition and Jose to be on. As always, our quick community calendar updates. There are definitely some things that are happening. Tomorrow is crazy busy. Tomorrow in Schenectady, there are two different events. I am I am Father Fest with Community Fathers at City Hall that starts at 12 noon. And then there is a very, very special Activated Artist Fest that is happening at Schenectady High School. It will have a special guest speaker later in the evening, Taina Asili. The entire show is about different art forms and social activism and
Yeah.
how that can be expressed. Starts at 12, goes all the way into the evening. We'll definitely be dropping the links for that later. Then Hamilton Hill Arts Festival is coming up on the 17th. Caribbean Fest, Saturday, August 17th at Jerry Burrell Park, starting at 2. And of course, Lucid Voices, August 23rd. And as I mentioned, I will be dropping some poetry this month with our boy Adonis. And then every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. If y'all don't join us, if not now, when, y'all already missing out. We had the first week this past Tuesday. It was really amazing. Looking forward to the conversation this coming Tuesday.
Yeah, that conversation was really amazing. And Tiana Silly is someone that we've been seeing doing this work and contributing to our community for a number of years now. Really would love to have the opportunity to hear her do her thing because she definitely can sing her tail off. I didn't hear if you mentioned the 518 Snug Day that's happening tomorrow, which we be going to be tabling at in
No,
Washington
the
Park
518 Snug is on the 16th. Look
on the
at you.
16th. Oh,
Look
well,
at
hey.
you.
Well,
Yes.
listen.
But thank you for reminding me because I
I just wanted
did
to
forget.
remind you. Yes.
518 Snug Day is August 16th in Albany. There's a lot going on during this wonderful Black August month, and I don't want to miss any of it.
Nah, for sure. Big brother Gordon Davis will be there doing this thing. He invited us out to table and kind of tell the people what it is we do, which is amazing. Um, just one other special shout out to We Are Revolutionary doing some great work. Watch the news. They had a bunch of young people walking and talking in the community in Albany. Lukey Forbes is the director of We Are Revolutionary, the Freedom School. Had a number of kids doing their thing. Much appreciated. I very much appreciated seeing that. It doesn't happen enough. So big shout out to him in Albany doing this thing. So here we are. Special guest, Jose Pineda's in the house. I'm rocking his Good Trouble hat in honor of Joe Lewis. Brother, tell us a little bit about yourself, man. Tell us a little bit about who you are, what after incarceration is. Matter of fact, just tell us how you doing today first before I even get into all of that. What's up, man?
Uh, Peace and blessings, first and foremost, man. It's a beautiful day to be alive. I mean, there's opportunities at every point, but the struggle is real. You know what I'm saying? So,
Fact.
um, how I'm feeling today, I'll say it's been a long week, and it's Friday, and it's 7 p.m. And the thing that I'm like that's like reverberating inside my body right now is how good it is to be in community with people that on a Friday at 7 p.m. after all the shit that we do Saturday through to the Friday to come on and the shit that's going to happen tomorrow, people still fired up. That's why I love Jamaica's energy. Like It's 7 p.m. on a Friday. I know she been like that since 7 a.m. on Saturday morning of last week. You know what I'm saying? Like it ain't. There's no dulling the passion with the peoples in this community, and that's why I appreciate like being able to be a part of the conversation and stuff. In terms of like what after incarceration does, who I am, I'm a formerly incarcerated community member. I served 21 years in New York State Prison. That's where I met Sean. It's where I met many of the brothers that I build with on the outside now after incarceration, in a way that we seek to continue doing. Well, not to continue. In prison, it was like we got together and we shared an understanding of our joint condition. And it's like the quality of your life was representative of the quality of my life. And so, like, our community of educated, radical, formerly incarcerated community members are trying to like continue that tradition on the outside, which is again why we are so powerful when we get together in thought partner, because it's like we back in the computer lab at the prison talking about how we can make an argument for something different. And now we also have agency and autonomy to put those arguments into action. You know what I'm saying? We were without that for so long. So I get to do that shit for a living right now. I'm skinny as fudge, but you feel me? Like my heart feels well nourished.
So tell us a little bit about after incarceration. What is after incarceration?
All right. So the core element of after incarceration is to support the accelerated personal and professional development of people that use their time in prison in order to gain skills and knowledge that would set them up for success on the outside, and then experience all of the glass ceilings to inclusion that we experience, and also to help us to be able to be resilient in the same way we were resilient in the face of overt oppression and being abuse. We need to learn how to be resilient against the subtle acts of exclusion that happen in the professional world, so that they don't just chew us up, spit us out, and take somebody who's fresher out of prison and more willing to endure stuff they shouldn't, you know? And so we want everyone coming out of prison to be able to be in personal and professional relationships where they're treated like full human beings and where they don't have to accept any type of less than status, period, you know?
So let me ask you this: when did you co-found after incarceration? And I heard like what it's about, but what was the thing that triggered you? Like, this is something I gotta do.
So the founding of this organization is very different than the meaning and the power that I realized it had if we do what we do to have an impact beyond what I was telling people was important to do. And that was to have a restorative process that enables people to process the trauma of incarceration, specifically the constant barrage of less than treatment and status that we then learn to internalize. Even though those of us who consider us the most revolutionary and woke was going down to the visit, and every time we seen somebody we loved, we had to come off the visit and spread our ass cheeks for some man who was standing 18 inches away from us. And at some point, we learned that was okay. Even though we knew it wasn't okay, it didn't even bother us no more. And so, like, part of the thing that I feel like I was seeing a lot of in our communities is that our loving relationships have been conditioned with dehumanization so much that when we come out here and we try to just be in an authentically loving relationship, we somehow subconsciously or inadvertently create these self-sabotaging situations because we never really lingered. I mean, we never really released that lingering dehumanization and less than status. Like, you know, we had to endure a sexual assault in order to go give our mother a hug. You know what I'm saying? So that what I learned. Okay, so now I got speak just for take it back. When I got out of prison, I had to go back to the same community that I was removed from, which was never my intention. But COVID removed any place that I could possibly go but my mom's crib. So what I I realized then that I was returning right back to the one place everybody who was mad at me could find me first, and two, to a community full of people that didn't even know why I did what I did. There was a whole bunch of friends, family, and people who had a stake in what happened in my when I killed someone. People were hurt by that, and they don't even know why, and I imagine that to be a barrier to closure that only I, with the narrative of what happened and an honest account of how that person's life ended, could give them the closure. And like, I came home committed to not being someone that would perpetuate any harm, including the harm I caused 20 years ago. But I didn't expect that I would come back to a community of people that were actually harmed by that. I thought I would be able to hide and just be a good person for the rest of my life. But that option was taken off the table. So I sought a restorative practice. I reached out to all these restorative justice organizations like, yo, I need a safe place to talk to this family, because the person that I killed, their family lived less than 10 minutes away from my mother's house. And we live in the same town. He has a twin brother. At any given moment, I'm coming home. At any given moment, I could be in the Dunkin' Donuts parking lot and get ran down on by the twin brother of the person that I killed, talking about love. How the fuck could you do that, man? What the fuck happened? And parole tells you run away. That was not an option for me, So, long story short, in that part, I realized that collaterally, when you go through a restorative process that's rooted in the elements and your humanity and being witnessed and being seen by people with different experiences, and having people tell you, like, you didn't deserve to be treated like that. People that I would never really imagine to care that I was treated in a way. And here they are recognizing that I didn't deserve to be treated in a way that I didn't even recognize I didn't deserve to be treated. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's
no,
a
it
long way to
does.
do it. But after incarceration has come a long way. And I don't often get a chance to talk about the restorative justice roots, because initially we only wanted to provide what would this thing that we thought was missing in the reentry world, which was a restorative process that pays people to show up for the circle and all of that stuff. I got a budget to run a pilot this year though, so that, like, it's coming full circle. This year in Newburgh, we got money to do Kingian nonviolence, and I got money to do one round of my restorative justice model. So stay tuned.
Nah, that's amazing, and I actually participated with you down in Selma with the Kenyan nonviolence training. Hoping to get back down there at some point, and hoping to actually see Jamaica down there as well. Because me and you both said think Jamaica would have like really get a lot out of that experience. And speaking to those trainers, I just want to touch on a little bit about what you just talked about, right? When you're talking about all the nuances of coming home, and it ain't always just, it's not just about coming home and just being free. There's a lot of damage, a lot of things that happened while you were gone. There's a lot of damage that happened to yourself, maybe before you were gone, and certainly while you were incarcerated. You're talking about going on visits and all that, and like what the mental kind of stress that you actually have to go to endure some time with your loved ones. You know what I mean? And then um, you creating an organization that mission is about, trying to make sure folks have the opportunities that they otherwise might not have, that they're somehow able to traverse the obstacles that they're going to run into while they're outside, which all of us run into, no matter how you land or what happens. I just had some situation happen not too long ago, and I had to pull back and remember who I am and how I show up and how much I have to lose, right? When faced with serious obstacles out here. It's not the same for me and then someone else, right, who doesn't have the same history that I have. It's a different kind of outcome, and that's just the way it is. There's no getting around that right now. Um, but I want to say that, like, to that mission that you have, and you addressing some of those needs, a lot of that. So this is Black August, right? And it's certainly about commemorating a lot of the brothers and sisters who fought for liberation, who fought for freedom, who fought to upend the system of oppression that we have. And I would say that what you're doing right now with your organization is in that spirit of countering what we're up against on a daily basis, right? And I would say, for one, certainly you're not the only brother that's a part of it, but it ain't a lot of brothers that get into that work relative to the people that come out of prison and have the experience of being incarcerated and all of that. Not everyone jumps into that lane. You know what I mean? So I think that this should be definitely space to recognize. And I know you don't like getting flowers and stuff, but it's definitely a space to be recognized. That work is certainly essential, and those that take it on upon themselves to do it, like I mean, remember, we're not only taking that burden on, we're also dealing with our own personal shit, like you were saying, right? Like you have all this other stuff that you have to wrestle with, but in addition to that, you want to take on this. You want to take on these burdens because it can be a burden, right? Doing this work, and not can be, it is in a lot of senses. And I just think it's really important. I just want to point that out.
Can I just add one or piggyback on that in one way? Like, one of the things that I'm really realizing is that this work is super hard for us because it doesn't allow for a work-life balance. There's no way to put it down. There's no way to stop. And then it forces us to work with allies that aren't really in coalition with us for liberation. They in allyship with us to do their job, which gives them meaning. But ultimately, the thing that they're trying to find more often than not is stability for themselves and their family, and just some work that they go to that's meaningful, but that they leave when they leave. And when we're involved in this work, there's no 9 to 5. It's a 24-hour day, 7-day a week job.
Yeah.
And that comes with, it requires a different level of support from the institutions and the organizations that we work with to recognize the toll it takes on us, and the fact that we're not fungible, as my boy Rodney used to say in his senior project about Black bodies being fungible, and as long as there's one in that place, don't nobody really care. The social justice field out here with formerly incarcerated community members is very similar. That's why you don't see us really doing the work beyond 5 years, because we've been in white supremacy's mouth getting chewed up that whole time, and then they figured out they can either swallow us up or spit us out and replace us, like a bad piece of gum.
Nah, that's a whole fact. Good shout out to Rodney Spivey. I definitely got I used to talk about the category of irredeemables, which I got from his project. It's definitely a term that has been useful to me in just articulating kind of what the experience is. Jamaica, what you got? I feel like you've got like
no, I'm sitting here and absorbing all of it. And of course, it brings me back to Black August. Every single thing that's been talked about, the discipline that's needed. We talked about that last Tuesday. You have to fast, you have to have self-discipline, the drive to do this work and to do it continuously. The study that's necessary, because we're inside of the nonprofit industrial complex that is not built for our liberation, and how philanthropy plays a role in our oppression and how we can change that system and structure. I will push back on the we don't rest and we can't. I know that it is this thing we talk about, and I'm not good at it, so I'm just going to fess up. I'm not good at it. We do have to be able to put it down sometimes. And to your point, if we don't have the support system around us necessary, then we feel like we can't. Yes. But when we don't, right, we're not training in a way that allows us to sustain this for the long haul. I'm going to be 50 next month. I don't want to be doing this when I'm 100. And I do expect that my children are going to pick up the mantle when I am done. But to be able to sustain it for them to learn and to build and be a part of this work, I've got to be able to take care of myself, which is why I am fasting for the month of August and not drinking any caffeine or any alcohol. It's why I do look for what we were talking about earlier. I will take a nap. I will take a nap, but it's not easy because the work is so important to us, because whichever way we are directly impacted, in all of the different intersections that exist, that drive, because we know what the oppression feels like and we recognize it from our knowledge and understanding, makes us want to do it all the time. But we won't be able to continue the fight if we don't find moments of peace and reflection and tranquility and joy and all of that stuff, it will burn us out. So let's remember that. And I'm speaking to myself more than I'm talking to anybody else, because it is hard to put it down when you know how important it is, not just for your own life, but the life of your community.
No, for sure,
Well
Jamaica.
said, Jamaica. Thank you for adding a substance to a part that I only tapped on, because I agree it was more nuanced than we do this 24/7. It's often we do this 24/7 because we're not supported properly. And then I do think there's nuances between, like, for instance, I see in the community of formerly incarcerated community members, it's there is a difference between those of us who have children and those of us who do not. So, like, someone like me who's been in the system since I was 12, I didn't get out till I was 41. Like, I don't have no kids, I don't have no relationships, I don't have nothing. Sometimes it can feel very much like the only thing that I have is this meaningful contribution that I do while I'm working, and which people are still always asking me to do when I'm not working, because the people that we're serving are my people, and I'm always in communication with them about what they're going on. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, like, I don't have nobody but my dog better in my life right now that could use a brother to talk through what they're going on, even though having to talk about it is going to trigger and induce potentially something about my situation that I got going on and make it harder. Like, it's very hard for me to say my relationship with this person that I shared a position of oppression, someone like Sean, or someone like Sean who may actually be out here struggling, and now all of a sudden, yo, everything went bad, I'm in a homeless shelter, I gotta figure some shit out. It's like, I don't say it's Saturday, bro, call me on Monday. You know what I'm saying? I would never do that. But it's not to say that we do need to rest. Like, I'm not advocating for a lifestyle that you burn until you burn out.
Yeah.
And I realized that that is one of the barriers to our long-term inclusion in the fight for social justice, is the lack of support makes us turn it up and turn it up so much until we've just had enough, you know?
I think that the overlapping piece that's important is, one, you need to recognize that life don't stop life, and shit is happening on a day-to-day basis, 24/7, around the clock. You ain't escaping that fact. That's just a reality. It happens all the time. What you doing in those moments, to get the rest that you need, taking those intentional naps, being focused on your health, being focused on, being disciplined and not just, all over the place. Like, cause shit is gonna happen every day, all day. You know what I mean? Like I know, Jose. Like, we get with Jamaica, we getting calls, and things happen all the damn time, and we're not in the fast food business, right? It's not, what I mean. Our doors don't really close, so we've got to be really intentional about how we caring with ourselves, and really intentional about, like, taking space. But stuff is always happening, right? So, like, I wanted to make that point, because, like, there is no world where you completely close the door on everything. At least not for me, there isn't, right? It's just not reality for me, because things are going to happen, whether it's happening in externally for me and the people I work with and the brothers I deal with and sisters that I deal with, folks that I work with on a regular basis, or something personal in my own life, right? My children, my own health, my family. Like, so it's like things happen all the time. What you do in that time is just extremely important. All right, there's no full separation of any of that. That's all I wanted to say, and all of that lines up with the discipline of Black August. And I wanted to connect with you on something, because we're getting shorter and shorter on time. Black August and what it represents, and this commemoration, this celebration, this serious look back and look forward, right, at what justice means, liberation means, our freedom fighters. Black August started with George Jackson, Jonathan Jackson, San Quentin in the 1970s, of brothers getting together to honor them, right?
For those that don't know, we're talking about prison,
Yes.
because there may be
Um.
somebody watching that's like, what's San Quentin?
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes.
These
San
were
Quentin.
incarcerated folks that were literally fighting for their freedom.
Literally fighting for their freedom. And so George Jackson, field marshal for the Black Panthers, after some years upstate, sentenced to life, served 10 years before he was murdered in an uprising. That what happened to George on San Quentin when he was shot and killed sparked something else, right? That uprising sparked something else. You want to speak a little bit to that right here in New York?
Well, I know. I mean, it's connected to the Attica riots in or Attica uprising, Attica rebellion. Not however, it's like because the Attica uprising was a spontaneous eruption of pent up rage and disgust. It wasn't like, yo, fuck it, we taking over this prison because they killed George Jackson. But what happened was after George Jackson was killed, I believe it was the very next day, but it was shortly after, inside of Attica prison, all of the prisoners, black, white, Latino, everybody fasted. Everybody went silent. And the prison was like, had never before seen racial unity. They had always banked on being able to keep the white guys in all the good positions and treat the black people like shit, but then give them like little things that they could steal so that they could hustle and get or whatever. You know what I'm saying? And when George Jackson was killed and the like the ludicrousness of him having a handgun in his afro or some shit and like all of this stuff, like people knew that George was assassinated in prison so that he would never get out because he was just way too powerful of a radical revolutionary imagination that was just being able to point out so many of the flaws and the things we accepted as being fundamentally essential for us to all be happy. It's like, actually look at this and look at this and look at this, and then couple that with an enough is enough kind of like approach, like we are demanding that these things be addressed. So like the racial unity also then spilt over into when the prison was taken over in Attica the next month. It was like it was about 2 weeks later, the Attica uprising, September 9th. I think George Jackson was killed on August 26th.
First.
August 1st?
21st.
21st. Okay. All right. Yeah, I do. All right. So I think on August 26th then is the day that in Attica they had the commemoration to let everybody know that we are not okay with this. You know what I'm saying? And so even though it was on the other side of the country, and even though we see all this like West Coast, East Coast shit that came out afterwards, all of a sudden we hate each other. Like there was really a nexus of radical revolutionary black men who have been removed through COINTELPRO, removed from the community, placed in cages across the country. And those amazing individuals found ways to continue organizing, even from the deepest pits of the belly of the beast, solitary confinement, in a way that they weren't supposed to ever be able to talk to anyone. And still they were organizing for the liberation, not only of themselves, though, but of everyone, really. So
It's one of those amazing stories that not enough folks know about. Which is why we have these conversations. It's why we talk about them on this platform, because very few people talk about it or talk about it in a way that the masses are going to have access to. The idea that folks who were incarcerated were demanding humanity. What? That's crazy. What would they be doing that for? Which created all these other conversations. And Sean, I believe it was you that were, maybe it was last week, you talked about the fact that because hunger strikes have been so effective in behind the wall, that they've now created laws and policies and practices to prevent hunger strikes. And before we close out, can you just mention that briefly about how they're fighting against the ability for folks to have their agency in all these types of ways?
Well, it's been for some time now, where there's provisions, especially in New York State, and I believe in the not DCOJ, the federal prisons, that if hunger strike is going on too long, they just force feed you, right? They can take you to medical and make sure you get whatever nutrients you're unwilling to take in order to survive your hunger strike, because ultimately a hunger strike is about putting your life on the line, right? you're putting your life on the line for a cause. You're putting your life on the line for change, and usually it's a cause and change that's way beyond yourself. It's not just about you. So you're risking your life literally in order to create change. And this is what many of the brothers, sisters, and individuals, period, incarcerated that were fighting for change and liberation did in order to enact that change. And I just want to say something else quickly. I mean, we're talking about George Jackson and we're talking about Attica. A lot of the reasons I'm able to do what I do, and many other brothers that came out of those fights, that survived those moments in history, and continue to make changes as they went through the prison system, stayed in the prison system, is that's why I'm able to do the work I do, right? That's why the opportunities that existed for me coming through the prison system existed because of the changes that those brothers wrought. All the organizations, like we can say all day about how, and I know Jose knows what I'm talking about when we look at some of the organizations that are in and around the prisons now, like what they do versus what they say they do, and all of that. Those organizations didn't exist, right, before the 1970s and what happened with George Jackson and the Attica uprising. All those many changes that happened that made life a bit better, that made sure our humanity was recognized in some way, even though it's horrible still. Don't get me wrong, it was way worse then. And those changes are the reason why I'm able to do the work I do, was able to survive the way I did while I was incarcerated for so many years. And I just wanted to shout it out in that way, because there's a lot of brothers, like Jose's one, I'm one, there's so many others that are doing some really great work in addressing what's the conditions of incarceration and the conditions in our community, right? Because there's full overlap and connection to that.
How much time we got left?
We got no time left. So what are your last thoughts while I let folks know that they can follow After Incarceration on Instagram? They can see it right there on their screen.
I mean, you can go to the website too. It's afterincarceration.org. You know what I'm saying? We revamping the website. We got one of the community members trying to update it. It hasn't really been updated. But what I want to say something about Black August, and something that's more important, because I spent too much time talking about how the organization that I founded and all of that stuff, like, because really what I want to speak to just real quickly what you just said, Sean, about how these programs exist, right? But what another part of the story that's not often talked about is the extension of COINTELPRO into the prison systems in the wake of the Attica uprising, in a way that psychological profiling, administrative segregation, and all of these tactics to disrupt, and to also like the security classifications, none of that existed before. There was a whole way that then it went inside, and not only in an overt way. There was a Osiri. I've always messed up his first name. His last name is Burton. Wrote a book called The Tip of the Spear, and he talks about program pacification and how the programs that we bled and died for to get in program, what they then did is flooded the jails with programs and selectively kicked out the ones that was authentic, and left us with the programs that would ultimately pacify the prison population, make us less likely to revolt, but also less likely to liberate ourselves as well. And that's why we're stuck now in 2024 with prison programs that mean nothing unless we're the ones starting them and just doing them secretly, more or less.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I just wanted to put that out there. That's something that people should study. If you want to learn something about Black August, if you want to take Black August as an opportunity to learn and be able to educate people about some of the insidious ways white supremacy then even like clamp down even more under the guise of giving people some type of like humanity and all of that. Osiri Burton's book, The Tip of the Spear, does a really, really good job of breaking it down. So
thank you, brother. I really appreciate that.
There will be a boatload more of information every Tuesday in August, 6:30 p.m. Jose, hope you can join us for one of those weeks, because each week we break down a different pillar from Black August. This coming Tuesday is going to be study, then train, then fight. The link is right there, bit.ly that I created, 2024 Black August series. So click, register, get the link, join us on Zoom. Thank you so much, Jose, for joining us. We could have sat here for another hour, had a whole conversation. I already know. I've been in a room with Jose and didn't think we were ever going to stop talking.
That's because we untitled and free.
We are untitled.
When you untitled and free, can't nobody tell you to be quiet. You heard? Not even YouTube.
Appreciate
right, I love y'all.
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, appreciate you, Jose. Make sure you're back. Let's do this again.
Right, and make sure that next month you promoting our event in Hudson. It ain't in Schenectady, but it's for
Greater Capital Region. Just send us the information.
I got you. Say less.
Link. Just let us know, and we'll share it with everybody.
I love y'all. Keep
right.
doing what you're doing.
Everybody have a good night. See y'all next Friday. Actually, Tuesday. Tuesday and Friday. All right. Later, y'all.